Welcome to the Unofficial House of Wind book club, ran by two best friends and self-declared members of the Night Court.
Today we are bringing you a special minisode only for those who have finished the entire ACOTAR series. This is a warning with big flashy lights that this is an episode that will contain spoilers from all the ACOTAR books. Listen at your own discretion. And settle in, darling listeners. We've been eager to discuss this with you all season.
Get ready for Surial's tea time.
I know you can hear me from the dark. I know you're listening from afar. I thought that no one could fix me. Can't get hold of my feelings. With you in my head, with you in my heart. I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm not afraid of it.
Guys, we were not kidding. I have been noting things in these chapters like a mad woman that I couldn't discuss with you guys because we purposely tried to keep this entire first season spoiler free. And just in case you accidentally kept listening when you weren't supposed to, we are going to keep the rest of the books in chronological order and not give any spoilers unless we have these little minisodes that we're going to sprinkle in, because it's not fair to the people who haven't read the books and are reading with us like the book club, or like the book club that we are. So guys, I'm so excited. I've got them written down in my book. Libby has not seen them, so I'm so excited to get started. Libby, you ready for the first one?
I just want to say the amount of little tabs and highlighting in your book, it frightens me, Abby.
Here's a good look.
That is literally just half of the book that we've covered, and your book is full.
I should probably share it now on the podcast, maybe make a little video of my favorite parts so far. Because, guys, I have to tell you, this is the end of season 1 today.
It is.
So maybe as my little present to all of our lovely, darling listeners, I will go ahead and share the book that this podcast has been built upon. So we have to start with the elephant in the room. Tamlin saying that the treaty brought him right to Feyre's doorstep.
Tamlin has been a dirty, lying mother effer.
His pants better be on fire, my friend, because he's lied about so much, but this one pissed me off the most. This aspect of the treaty does not exist.
There's nothing with that. He's so full of it.
You know what? The first time I read this book, I was like, oh, that makes sense. It's a very specific treaty, and I guess the magic really did bring him right to the doorstep. And he said this to Lucien, who did not bat an eye.
Right.
Who did not go, oh, that's weird because the treaty doesn't exist. Nothing. Just let Feyre sit there and believe it.
I think that's what got me to follow along with it for so long, is that not just Lucien, Alice, everybody played along with everything he said. And maybe it's a High Lord thing that they just have to follow along with what he said, but that just seems dirty. Everybody just went along with the story. It was very irritating that they all just lied to her over and over.
Reading it back is, I think, the most infuriating thing because, again, we just believed them and we had no reason to not believe them.
Yeah.
Especially because he was telling this to both Feyre and Lucien and explaining it, it brought her right to her doorstep. And she's so overwhelmed in general because this woman just got stolen. Let's talk about that. Literally date rape drugged. The magical version of date rape drugged.
Yes.
Through a land she's never been to and only feared her whole life. And now he's making up these lies that she just believes. We know how heartbroken and mad she is when she finds out that this part of the treaty does not exist. But the fact that he just so blatantly sprinkled it in.
I was enraged when we read it, and I definitely discussed it in our episode coverage of it. But to know that when he date rape drugged her, that he went in and de-armed her disgusted me. You went through her body to grab her weapons. I get it. She wasn't a threat to you though.
But she's a human.
Her weapons wouldn't have done anything. Yeah. Gross, Tamlin.
But reading that back and knowing that he knew she killed Andress with hate in her heart. And he knew that he sent Andress out there to die. He knew that she was not of any harm to him. She could not actually kill a Fae.
Yes.
I am angry. I'm obviously very passionate about this podcast because we have one. And the fact that he laughs when he says it. And then Lucien goes, you're joking? That scrawny thing brought down Andress with a single ash arrow. Bitch, you knew.
That's what he went there to do. You knew that was the end task. The end goal was that he was sacrificing himself. And we find out Andros wasn't the first. He sent so many people to die over and over and over. It was so infuriating.
And Lucian's anger about Andros's death, obviously unjustified.
Yeah. When he's self-sacrificing himself to do these things, why are you then going to torment her over and over again?
Evil. That itself is evil.
Right. How do you know the term, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar? Why would you think that treating her that way would make her then accept and fall in love with one of your own?
And I know that they can't tell her what to do.
Right.
But like, you could not be a dick. Maybe.
Don't be an asshole.
Okay, so that's number one. Are you ready for that? We have 14 of these to get through. Are you ready for number 2?
Good Lord.
Well, technically 15. You're welcome, listeners. Okay, so I just want to preface this with my notes here. They say sneaky little bitch. So let me read this.
Sneaky little bitch. I like it.
Feyre, she just met the Surial, and she was remembering that the Surial said, "Stay with the High Lord, human," the Surial said. "That's all you can do. You will be safe. Do not interfere. Do not go looking for answers after today, or you will be devoured by the shadow over Perinthian. He will shield you from it. So stay close to him, and all will be righted." Wrong, High Lord.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
I have chills. Wrong, High Lord, Surial. And you know it. And he's kind of giggling.
He just left it out. He knew.
He did. Of course he did.
He knew he was not being upfront.
He's sitting there with his tea and he's spinning the little spoon and clinking it against the side and just going, "Stay with the High Lord, but I'm not going to tell you which one it is."
Yup. He's just got his little pinky out. He's blowing off the steam. He's like, "Whoo, oh yeah, by the way, stay with the High Lord." I bet it was out of spite. I bet it was because she ensnared him instead of just being like, "Yo, I got a cool new cloak for you, my guy." He was like, "You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to tie me up and restrain me." So I bet that's why.
But I'm gonna not tell you everything because you made me mad. And then I love how she goes, "Where did the blight come from?" And I'm thinking in my head, he can't tell you. He physically by magic cannot tell you. Like, it'd be great if he could, but he can't. But he can be a dick and he can tell you everything else.
But it contradicts him as a being having to be 100% honest. So I don't know how he would have gotten himself out of that if the Naga wouldn't have shown up in that instance. So,
well, that's not the issue. He just says other information. He just doesn't answer the question. He dances right across it.
He dances right across it. You're right.
He talks about Hybern being in a land all to himself across the sea, yada, yada, yada. It just made me so mad because I was like, he literally can't tell you, but he's gonna sprinkle and stay with the High Lord. And then we find out later, wrong High Lord, when the Surial's like, "Well, I did say a High Lord. I didn't tell you it was supposed to be."
But Cauldron blessed that it was the wrong High Lord, because as it went on, it was like, really?
I mean, thank God, because ew. Has it not physically hurt you to have to read back and see all the, quote, sweet things we thought about Tamlin? And even the parts where I'm like, my heart is hurting because he's being very sweet. But me now is being like, but he's also a jerk. Like, I know he's a jerk.
He's icky and gross, and he's doing bad things, and he's manipulative. And I feel just as tricked as Feyre was from the first time I read it. The first time I read it, I was swooning. I totally was just like, oh my gosh.
I was in love with him.
Yes.
I remember being on TikTok and being like, why are they saying that, calling him tampon? I was like, I love this guy.
Yes. I literally texted you and I was like, why is there such a fandom for Rhysand? And you're like, oh, I don't know. Because you'd already read it.
Yeah, I did. I was like,
Oh.
Olivia, I can't wait for you to finish the book so I can talk about it. I don't know.
And I did. I blew through them and you were like, oh, thank God. Like when I finally caught up.
Oh, yeah, because we talked about it so much we made a podcast.
It was like all I could think about. It was at the forefront of my mind.
I was rereading this again or listening to it and I said, buddy, I'm falling for Tamlin again, damn it.
Yeah, I felt just as foolish as Feyre. I felt tricked, just like Feyre had been. I felt like I looked back and was like, all the red flags were there, and I just skated right past them, just like she did, which makes reading it back harder.
Okay, you said I'm at the part where Feyre has to go back home, like right on chapter 28. I said, it's so good. And she said, I've already known enough TikTok. You said this. I've already seen enough TikToks before reading this to know everyone loves Rhys, but so far he seems evil to me, and I'm just so confused because she loves Tamlin so much. I said, haha, you're right on track. Right with what the book wants you to think. You said, it makes me so sad to think they won't last, I guess. I guess I'm changing my feeling, or I'm guessing my feelings will change though.
I have to give it to SJM. She has you right where she wants you almost every step of the way. Anytime you're feeling something, yes, that's what you should be feeling. And you might regret it later, but that was what you were supposed to feel.
Here, you said this. So remember how I loved Tampon? That's his name now. No, hard no. Reese, 100%. I'm starting to get it. Tampon has changed. Your reactions are my favorite.
I was in book 2 at that point. I don't even know if that was when she had her breakdown and was rescued.
Oh, I can tell you exactly when it was because you told me.
Okay, yeah.
So Mora just rescued Feyre, and I'm literally crying for her. Just how broken, alone, and empty, and ugh.
I did. I actually did. It was the middle of the night, I think, when I read that part, and I did cry. Like, I was hurting for her to know that that is how she felt.
Well, you were also crying from your ear infection, so.
Oh, yeah. Was it ear infection or wisdom tooth removal? I can't remember.
No, it was ear infection.
Who knows? You're right, because wisdom tooth came way after that.
Oh
You're
my
so
gosh.
right.
Okay, ready for number 3.
Yes.
It's at the Fire Night, Kellum and I. There's 2 things on one page, like one physical book page. So technically 2 book pages, but it says, there was a string tied to my gut that pulled me towards those hills, commanding me to go to hear the fairy drums. And I said, like the string between her and Reese.
Bestie, how are you? Ooh, she, like the planning. When I realized that they were bonded that way, I was floored to see just how much planning.
Yeah, because it's your freaking mate. Literally, and you know he was doing it.
Right, it's not like she just was writing a book and then wrote a sequel. Like, she planned these. These go so far back. And I have since then...
And sprinkled all this stuff in.
Yes, I have since then watched interviews with her where she has said while she was writing Throne of Glass, she was also working on ACOTAR. Like, this all... Like,
this woman,
it all went so far back. It's insane how much planning and depth she put into everything. And reading book 2 and learning about some of these things that she did to foreshadow, I was like, wow, like we thought she was just writing a book, but she's laying the groundwork. Like, this shouldn't even be considered book 1. This should just be the prequel, because it's the prequel. Yeah,
Ground zero. This is actually ground zero. And knowing the books later, this really is ground zero.
It is.
Like, knowing that we had to build this whole world, but this isn't even the world. This is a very, like, knowing all that we know now at the end of ACOTAR, this is the smallest, tiniest bit of this world. There are these 6 other courts. And now we know all these things about them. And now we know.
Not even that. There's other continents. There's other...
Exactly.
There's other corners of the world.
But didn't it feel so overwhelming even reading just this little bit?
It did.
To learn all the rules. And we needed this given to us bit by bit by bit. But looking back and knowing that all these things were sprinkled in, I'm like, God damn it, she's a genius. She's genuinely a genius. Screw J.K. Rowling. This woman writes so well. And maybe grammatically not the best. Like, sometimes, but she is a genius to sprinkle these little things in.
I would love to know if anyone knows of an interview where she says where this all started and came from. I would love to know, because I know, like, J.K. Rowling, the story with Harry Potter is that she had a dream about a boy, or she, that's where that all started. I want to know.
We don't speak of her. We love Harry Potter, but we don't speak of her.
Do what? No, I'm sorry. I'm right there with you. I feel you. Trust me.
They're separate entities now in my head. There's Harry Potter, and then there's J.K. Rowling.
But what I'm trying to get at is that we know where where that blossomed. I want to know, because SJM, she gets me. It's insane. The plot twists, the surprises, the unexpected.
The trauma, the tears.
The trauma, all of it. I just want to know, at what point did this all, where was the blossom? Where was the little bud? The beginning, the...
Listeners, please tell us. I'm sure someone knows, and we've just been too involved in the books itself to do some background, which we might be able to do soon, but please share.
Well, we could try to do some deep digging, but if you guys already know, let us, we'll give you credit. We will shout you out and we will share it on an episode, I promise you, and shout you out. Like, let us know.
And Libby, okay, in that same line of Reese in the gut and pulling her with the string attached, which we can just talk about the tattoos and, listen to this. Literally the next page. But a wild, wicked voice, weaving in between the drum beats, whispered otherwise. Go, that voice said, tugging at me. Go see. That is Reese. And I said, Reese, you sneaky bastard.
Well, I don't know that he intended to, because when he later on is giving us his whole backstory, he's like, I knew that you'd be there, but he didn't know like how to communicate or meet her.
I wonder if it was his subconscious.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know that he intended to, but I bet a part of him, like some unintentional part of him, reached out and was like...
The mate bond that they already had?
Yes, exactly. Was like, get your butt out there. Whew.
His magic, I mean, we know his magic has a mind of its own.
Yes. Yeah.
It probably was like, I'm going to sneak out there and go grab her because you have to meet because that's fate.
And, you know, when... They meet, he's the most beautiful man, and I was like, whoa. I was like, you don't just throw that in if he's not supposed to be a main character. And then for him to later on, I'm sure you got your bullet points, but I just, when Tamlin kneels for him, I was just like, he's not going to be the main guy. Okay, I'm sorry. Whew, I'll edit it out. Go ahead.
No, you actually brought me to the next bullet point, number 4.
Oh, perfect.
There you are. I've been looking for you. Do you remember when I said... This is probably the only spoiler I ever put in the first season, was that holds so much weight, because it does. And that's a lot of people's favorite quote from the entire book series is, there you are, I've been looking for you. And I didn't resonate with it before this podcast because I was like, it's not her best writing. Honestly, there you are. I've been looking for you. You are my future. You are my fate. You are my mate. He's been looking for her for 500 years.
It hits. And when he later on tells her, I would wait another 500, I'd wait 1,000 if this was all the time we got. We
all know that the series has obviously affected us.
We've all cried.
To the core. Like, that could make me cry. There's so much weight in those words. But when you're reading this, you're like, who the hell is that? And why has he been waiting for her?
Well, just from the start, like, he knows he feels so strongly and he loves her. He knows it right away. He has never been shy about that from day one. Even when Feyre struggles with him later on and is like fighting against him, and he is just so patiently like accepting that she's in love with another man and not trying to steal her away, not trying to that to me, like, that is love. He's accepting of her wants and her needs. When she tells him at Fire Night, like, have a great night, he knows this is the love of his life, and he doesn't try to drag her away for himself. He's just, okay, you too.
Wow, he's respectful. Shocking concept, Tim Tam the Monster Man. Maybe we should do that.
He is willing to be devastated and broken as long as it means she's happy. And how do you compare that to Tamlin?
Mr. Jealous, rage, anger, can't control his emotion. Ugh. Okay, you ready for the next one? I think we're at 5. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My apologies. Tamlin says, you were there when they wrecked your father's leg. And Feyre says, someone had to beg them to stop. Tamlin threw an all too knowing glance in my direction and turned to the rest of the painting. Tam's been through some shit. Now, I thought he begged for his father and his mother's life, and that's wrong. I know that now. But Tam's been through a lot of shit. And now looking back, I'm like, I can see why he has that knowing glance. He knows what happened to Moore. He knows what's happened to Lucian and his family. Like, there's just a lot. I get that now. I never got that before reading this, because you're like, why does he have a knowing glance? Like, he also knows what it's like at this point to beg for his land to be safe, you know? So that was cool to witness, to look back on. Okay, 7 is the one we talked about last episode, Libby. This is from Tamlin, says, he laughed, though not entirely with amusement. When I remained silent, he sighed. No, I don't want you to live somewhere else. I want you here, where I can look after you, where I can come home and know you're here, painting and safe.
We keep coming back to this. We have come back to this reference so many times. It is so...
That's a turning point to me.
And it's something that when you read it the first time, you never pick up on that. But it's so foreshadowing.
You think it's cute.
We think that we're wondering when we get to book 2, when did Tamlin change? He never did. He always wanted her locked in a cage. He wanted her locked in a cage in book 2. She realized that's not who she was. She becomes her own person again. She finds her strength. She becomes Feyre again. And she's like, this is not me.
This is when she's losing herself. This is when he says that.
Right.
She just looked at him numbly. She didn't fight back. She didn't say, I even said the foreshadowing here is insane, bestie. Like,
it is.
This, looking back, is one of those pivotal moments in the book. And I'm like, oh, he was never the person that Feyre made him to be. He was never this knight in shining armor that saved her. He has always wanted her boxed in a cage, safe and sound at his mercy.
He has. But he's also not been upfront about him as a person to her. So many steps along the way, he's presented himself as this strong, amazing, sophisticated person, and he's really not. He's an enraged beast of a man, and he has no patience, no kindness. He wants what he wants, and nothing else will do. It's his word, and that's it. He gets the final say, so nobody else. And Feyre, I think, thinks that she's found her first love, and she's found someone who gives her the ease and safety that she struggled to provide for her family, and she just goes along with it. And when she finally starts to realize that's not who she is, and she's got to figure out who she is, and Tamlin's not on board to just wait around while she does that, that's when she realizes, oh, those red flags, like, she thinks they're new. She's like, when did this all happen? When did we change? No, he's always been that way. Those have been there from day one. And we all got tricked into thinking, we fell for it just like she did. We allowed ourselves to swoon for all the cutesy things he did, only to go back and realize he has been a nightmare from the beginning.
Speaking of falling for things that are planted, let's go to number 8, right here. This is when they found the head from the Night Court.
Yeah.
This is Tamlin speaking. The Night Court does what it wants, Tamlin said. They live by their own codes, their own corrupt morals. They're all sadistic killers, Lucien said. I dared glance at him. He was now perched on the heron's stone wings. I looked away again. They delight in torture of every kind and would find this stunt to be amusing. And I literally said, that's what they want you to think.
Yes.
I'm thinking in my head, good job. Good job. Because that's exactly what they want you to think. Cassian, Az, Rhys, I mean, more. That is exactly the face they put on, and they're keeping that on.
Yes.
I honestly, reading back, got such a sense of pride to be like, good job, guys. You're doing it, even though it kills you.
Well, and you just know, obviously, whoever's head they used definitely deserved it. You know that they're never going to put someone up there that didn't do something atrocious anyway.
No, it was Amarantha that wanted to do it. It wasn't Rhys.
Yeah. But Rhys, even when he was under the mountain, you know that he was doing what he could to keep people safe and protected.
Oh my God, he kept his home hidden.
I mean, he manipulated Amarantha so many times. He knew that Tarquin and the rest of the Summer Court members were part of the plan to escape, and he let Amarantha believe that it was only the one Summer Court member so that they could all survive. He was allowing people to call him Amarantha's whore.
Oh, we're getting there. Don't worry.
Okay, I'll wait then. Go ahead.
Okay, next, number 9. All right, we talked about this in 2 episodes ago. When in walks Mr. Rhys, and he asks Tam, there's 2 things on this page. He asked Tam what they were up to. And Tamlin goes, we're in the middle of lunch. And Rhys goes, stimulating. I just know this man now, and I love that so much. And unless you know Rhys, it's not funny. But when you know Rhys, you're like, you're being such a dick and I love you. I even said smartass, I love you. Okay, there's 3 things on this page. The next one down, she said about Rhys's voice, an erotic caress of sound that brought heat to my cheeks. And I said, ma'am, he's not yours yet. Calm down.
Okay. Yes, he is, but she doesn't know it.
But I was like, okay, your boy toy is literally in the room, so we need to not flush by another man.
I mean, but then again, she was also just like, I don't care if Lucian's in the room. Now she's like, you know what, Tamlin, you can watch too. Tall, dark, and handsome. Okay,
3rd on that page, this is all considered number 9. This broke my heart. I literally put a sad crying face. It said, what do you know about anything? You're just Amarantha's whore. Her whore I might be, but not without my reasons. Yeah, his reasons were he's keeping every single person he cares about safe. He's literally whoring himself out.
It hurt. And then when he says something, you have the quote, I'm sure, where he like side-eyes Lucian and referring as being a whore.
As her whore. Yeah, it's a couple pages later.
It still hurts him. And like looking at that, you can see, because you wouldn't have caught that the first time around, but now it's you can see that hurts him. It hurt him then, and it obviously still hurt him later on. He was still getting over that in the other books.
That's number 10, by the way, so we'll get there.
We're vibing with these, okay.
So that literally like made my heart burst, because now we know he's got every reason in the world. Every person he cares about, he is whoring out his body. He is literally getting raped on the daily with all that trauma and all that hurt for his family.
Well, and then we find out too later on, she would she would take advantage of special celebrations and days. I mean, Starfall, where, you know, it's supposed to be this special day, and she would force him to, as he called it, service her. And
on the days that held such happiness for him.
Destroys my heart.
Starfall is their thing.
Well, because then, you know, if by some chance they survive this and they do get to go back to their life, he will now forever on these happy days have to think of that as well. Like, she's seeding this permanent trauma. So diabolical.
All right, number 10. If it's any consolation, Rhysand confided to him, she would have been the one for you, and you might have gotten away with it. A bit late, though. She's more stubborn than you are. There's nothing you can say to that. I'm going to move to the next one because I will cry. Okay, cool. So literally the next page is the one we were just talking about. So this is number 11. The part where Rhys makes Tamlin bow to him. And now we know about the tattoo on Rhys's knees.
He's even said he will not bow for anyone for anything other than.
But Tamlin crumbled at the first sign.
And that's not the only time that Tamlin does that shit. He falls apart as soon as Feyre is like, no, I don't want to be with you. Thanks, but no.
He throws a tantrum and ruins the house. Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, and then he runs to Hybern.
If my husband did that, I'd be like, shut up.
He betrays everything and runs to Hybern. He sells them out to Hybern.
Because he, quote, loves her. No, he loves himself.
Yeah. And I love later on when we'll get to it, but when Rhys says, you know, love can be toxic. Love isn't always a good thing. And he's right. Not all love is good love. And Tamlin, time and time again, this is not good love. And I love there's a conspiracy. Yes, I love that there's a conspiracy that Tamlin and Amarantha were mates all along.
Good. Two people can go rot in hell. Ugh.
But we also know that you can be mates with someone that you hate. You don't have to love them to be mated to them. And, I mean, look at how toxic and manipulative Amarantha is. Look at how toxic and manipulative. They both have tempers. They're both obsessive.
Two peas in a pod. But here, okay. So I'm going to read the whole thing because we were just talking about him being her whore, right? Tamlin was frozen, his arms, his claws hanging limply at his side. I've never seen him look like that. Please, was all that Tamlin said. Please what? Rhysand said, gently coaxing, like a lover. Don't tell Amarantha about her, Tamlin said, his voice strained. And why not? Ask her whore, he said with a glance tossed in Lucian's direction. I should tell her everything. Please, Tamlin managed, as if it were difficult to breathe. Rhysand pointed at the ground. His smile became vicious. Beg, and I'll consider not telling Amarantha. Tamlin dropped to his knees and bowed his head. Lower. Tamlin pressed his forehead to the floor, his hands sliding against the floor towards Rhysand's boots. I could have wept with rage at the sight of Tamlin being forced to bow to somebody, at the sight of my high lord being put so low. Rhysand pointed at Lucian. You too, foxboy. Lucian's face was dark, but he lowered himself to his knees. Then he touched his head to the ground. I wished for the knife Rhysand had chucked away, for anything for which to kill him. Reading that back and hearing the High Lady of the Night Court calling Tamlin her High Lord, that physically hurt.
Disgusting. So, like I said earlier, hearing Rhysand kind of throw a glance towards Lucian and being like, you know, as her whore, like, since that's what you seem to think I am, why wouldn't I run off and tell her everything? And I bet for him at that point, it's got to be frustrating to discover, because he didn't know Feyre was there when he arrived, but to discover that she's there and immediately her first information from the people she's with is that he's Amarantha's whore. She's the mysterious she, the evil she that has been torturing them. That's her whore. And he's just like, great, thank you for giving her that perception of me. Wonderful, great. Now that's who she's going to think of me as. I bet that must have been hurtful. That must have broke his heart to think he's got to now recover from that with her.
Well, and you know that he put the face of the High Lord on. He was able to put that mask on and slip into it. And to my core, though, I loved and I relished in the fact that he made Tamlin big. He who will not bow to anyone made Tamlin big. He, the man who has to watch his mate be with the scum of the earth, made that man bow to his will. And I was like, the power that you have, Rhysand.
I know he says he does it to scare Tamlin into sending her home, but you can't tell me he wasn't just a little bit doing it for himself as well.
Oh, of course he was. Of course he was.
That didn't make him feel, yeah, I would. I'd be like, hell, that wouldn't even be for motive to keep her safe. I would have been like, nope, you kiss the ground right now. Fuck you, buddy. Like, that would have been pure spite.
Tamlin said, are you going to tell Amarantha? Like a fucking child.
Little bitch boy.
And he goes, perhaps I'll tell her. Perhaps I won't. Tamlin goes to fight her and he goes, none of that, not with a lady present. I'm like, we're still respecting women. Wow. Shocking concept, Tim Tam. Shocking concept how in your eyes, the most evil man in all of all of Prythian still respects women. Shocking.
Tamlin is so archaic. He has got the oldest, most outdated gender roles where she is this little dainty, frail, fragile female and he's the strong protector and you answer everything with violence. And I'm not here for it. I don't think any of us are. It's not attractive. Nobody is being swept off their feet by Tamlin just getting enraged. There, in my perspective, is nothing more attractive than someone who can smooth talk like Rhysand can.
All right.
And Rhysand is quick-witted. Like, we learned that about him. He is clever, and I enjoy seeing the wheels in his head turn. They're fun.
All right, ready for number 12? This part really pissed me off. It's when he's sending Feyre home, and Feyre goes, but what about the treaty? I've taken on your life debt. Should someone come inquiring after the broken laws, I'll take responsibility for Andros's death. She goes, but once you said there was no other loophole, the Surial said there was, and if they have a problem with it, they can tell me. You asshat. You made up a lie, and now you're trying to make yourself the bigger person, being like, oh, but I'll take, don't worry about it. I've got you covered, baby. Well, you fucking lied, my dude.
I'm the hero again. I'm the knight in shining armor again. To your own made-up lying stories, none of this is true. You've caused all of this. He caused all of it by embarrassing Amarantha and getting them all basically put into the blight, and then refusing to do anything to resolve the blight earlier on. He waited till the last minute of the 50-year time limit.
Last days.
He waited till it was almost about to expire. Waited. And then when he finally does find a human that fits the narrative, he doesn't give much of an effort. He just gets pissy at the whole beginning of the book about her not immediately just loving and falling for him. Like, he's just pissy and bitchy about the whole thing. And when it finally all falls into place, he just throws it all. He just pisses me off. He's manipulative. I think that he kept trying. I don't think he actually wanted to say that he loved her. I think he kept trying to get her to say it back. I think he was just hoping he could trick her into saying it back. I don't know. I don't know that Tamlin truly loved Feyre.
Well, he was infatuated with her, and he was in love with the thought of her, but he was never in love with Feyre.
But he's also a very possessive person. I think he didn't like the idea of her going to other people, but not that he actually truly loved her for himself.
And in that same sentence, she goes, did I do something wrong? Because she's like, why doesn't this man not want me? And he's like, you did nothing wrong. You were perfect. Shut up. Shut up. Okay, that makes me mad enough for going to number 13. Also, now any sex scene between them makes me physically nauseous.
It's anything with physical touch between them. No thanks. It's so hard to listen to.
All right, that brings us to, you were just talking about the love part, right? I love you, thorns and all. Libby, please explain why that is a crock of bullshit.
Earlier on in the garden, rose garden, that Tamlin's dad had gifted his mother as a mating gift, when Feyre rips out a rose and is bleeding, and he takes it and he's like consoling her. When he gives her the rose back, he's removed all the thorns. It is now just a rose that has no thorns. So I think that was foreshadowing that he does not truly love her thorns. He loves the rose, but that's it.
What did I say? He loves the thought of her. He doesn't love her.
Yes, he does not want her quirks and her true personality. He wants the parts that he likes, and he wants to pick off the thorns. That is the rest of her that he doesn't like.
I feel like he wants Elaine.
Yes.
He wants her to be Elaine.
Yeah.
And that's not happening.
I was very worried because I had heard fan theories that Elaine and he were mates, and I was very worried that that's what it would happen. I'm very relieved to know
It's Lucian instead.
that is not her mate. I would be devastated if Elaine got stuck with Tamlin.
We have 2 more. We have number 14. And as Nesta being one of my favorite characters, it's for Nesta. And the foreshadowing in this, I did not get it until we were talking about the chapter last week. Listen to this. I'd forgotten how cunning her eyes were, how cold. She'd been made differently from something harder and stronger than bone and blood. She was as different from the humans around us as I'd become. Hell yeah, she was. Because she's a queen. We know that.
Queen without a throne.
The Queen of Death, the Lady Death.
In A Court of Silver Flames, over and over again, they just keep saying that she was made different. Or even a Court of Wings and Ruin.
When she goes into the cauldron, something...
Where they're saying when she was forged in the cauldron, she was forged differently. It was not the same. And here we see it being foreshadowed in book one.
Book 1. I've never seen somebody pull that up before. There's a couple of these that I had seen on fandom pages. This I have never seen mentioned. When we were recording today and I read that, I was like, are you kidding me, bestie? You are foreshadowing Lady Death in book 1. That is boggling. Okay. Next one and final one.
I don't think I ever have the mental capacity to keep up with the planning that Bestie puts into her books. I could never.
Not even an ounce.
Yeah, she's on a whole nother level.
Not even an ounce. Okay. 15 and final. Which I feel like we've been very emotional this episode because we're very passionate people. Okay, number 15. At the very end of chapter 28, after she's returned home and she sees her family safe and she knows she should be happy, but she's not. She says this: I had to stay. It was wise to stay here, but I couldn't fight a sensation like a darkening shadow within me that I'd made a very, very big mistake in leaving, no matter what Tamlin's orders. Stay with the High Lord, the Surial had said. It's only command. 'Cause it was. Surprise.
It was the wrong High Lord. The darkening shadow.
No, not even that. It was the wrong choice to leave.
Well, yeah, to leave the wrong High Lord. She left the wrong guy. She didn't stay with the right guy. She left and went home. She was supposed to stay with Rhys-Anne, and she's thinking, no, yes.
I was like, again, bestie, you gotta mind bend us here. It was literally a darkening shadow. Again, I'm wondering,
I was just gonna say,
did Mr. Reese's Pieces go, we really need to get her back in here because I can't stay here anymore and we're all going to be screwed for the rest of our lives. She's going to find Valaris.
I would say it would be the bond pulling her back again, because even when Rhys is retelling that, he's like, when you showed up back at Prithian after we had finally gotten you home, it was the most like terrifying thing to see you there, to see you brought in by the Adder when I finally knew you were going to be safe. So I think that it was the bond being like, no, you were supposed to be here. You try again. No.
Come on back. And the fact that it's a darkening shadow feeling in her, I was like, really?
Oh, that's Rhys. There's no question.
Really? Exactly.
There's so much alluding to Rhys. I mean, there was an episode where I mentioned...
We missed it all.
We missed every step where they're in the meadow and they fall asleep and she's like, the dark, peaceful sleep. Like, you're telling me that the dark overcoming you was peaceful, it's because you are meant to be with the Dark High Lord. Not even dark in a negative way. The High Lord of the Night Court, the Night Guy.
Lib, there are so many aspects of this book that I love. Actually, let's be real. ACOTAR is not my favorite book.
This book hurts to read. After you've read all of them, the first one is like the most painful to go back to.
So having to live through this book for the last half of a year, or how long have we been doing this?
It's been a while, a few months.
June, July, August. So sorry for the last 3 months. It has been painful, and I cannot wait to get through this book. Hey, Libby, we have a super special star of the week this week.
It's, I think our star of the week is well overdue.
It's probably the best one we've ever have.
We probably should have led with this, but I think that this was the right episode to bring her in.
Yeah. So our star this week is Sara J. Maas.
She didn't give us a blurb, obviously.
Yeah, I don't think I'm really going to go through and read Bestie's bio. I think we all got it. But I would like to say she's the star of the week every week, but specifically this week because she has caused me trauma, caused me pain, caused me love. I'm going to get her stuff tattooed on my body. So SJM, Bestie, thank you for ruining our lives.
Thank you for helping us break down and rebuild ourselves and figure out just who we are, and giving us the words that we needed to hold on to find strength. Also, how does one author over and over and over again create so many quotes for us to live by?
I was about to say, she has made stories that will never leave us, that are there on our hardest days, and we're very thankful for that. But that being said, we do have to let you know, dear listeners, we are taking a 2-week break because we have reached the end of season 1. So we made it a little over halfway. This was our stopping point. We were going to hit once she gets home and then kind of cut it. We're going to take a 2-week break, come back with season 2 to finish the rest of ACOTAR, the first book. That'll bring us till the end of the year. So we'll have 2 weeks off to enjoy our birthdays.
Yes, Abby and I have birthdays like right next to each other. Yeah.
4 days apart, literally 4 days apart. So we're going to enjoy our birthdays. My family's coming to visit. It's going to be a good time. And we just need a little break from the mind-bending annoyance / love / too many emotions from this podcast, Libby, right?
Yes. We have to mentally prepare you have to mentally prepare for your family. That's a whole other mental preparation.
None of them will listen to this. And it's my mom and my dad. And I love them very much. But having people here is stressful, so I got to clean the whole house. We got to do a whole bunch. So
we should be back, though, by the 3rd week of October, right, Abby?
Nope, the 3rd week of September. We're not taking a month off.
Oh, I'm so sorry. 3rd week of September.
But Libby, what do we still want from them?
We want to hear from them. Always. Even on our break, guys. We always want to hear from you guys. We're still waiting. Send us an email. Email us at acourtofthornsandpodcast@gmail.com. Slide into our DMs. You don't know how much it means to us to get a message from you guys. Anything. It's so much fun. We love it. To the people who listen and the dreams that are answered.
We will see you next season. And remember, don't let the hard days win.
I know you can hear me from the dark. I know you're listening from afar. I thought that no one could fix me. Can't get hold of my feelings. With you in my head, with you in my heart. I'm not afraid of the dark.
Okay, we did a whole season, Libby. I'm so proud of us. I'm stopping now.